Can you compete at the highest amateur racing levels with a bike that doesn't cost $10,000 to $15,000? Hi, I'm Steve from In the Know Cycling, the ad-free, sponsor-free, and subscription-free YouTube channel and website for enthusiasts who are interested in finding out what gear to get next and where to get it. I'm joined today by Miles, and we're going to review the Cervelo Soloist, a bike that Miles has been riding and racing at the highest levels. Miles, welcome.
Thank you. Miles
is a full-time dad, husband, and has a full-time job, like many of you, working all the time and finding the hours to compete on the bike. And Miles, you've been racing for a long time, long throughout your life, right?
Yeah, I started racing in 1990 at the age of 15.
And you race road, cross, mountain bike,
yep,
gravel?
Yep, those four disciplines. And
had some good successes, I understand.
Yeah, mostly focus on road during the spring and summer and cyclocross in the fall. But I'm a category 1 across every discipline in the sport. And I like to go to nationals, and I've finished on the podium in 3 different disciplines at USA Cycling Nationals.
So that would be road, cross, and mountain bike, right?
Yes.
Now, Miles, you've been on this bike for, tell us how long, and tell us the kind of riding you've been doing on the bike.
I've had this bike for about 4 months, and I ride 12 to 15, 16 hours a week. So I've already put about almost 3,000 miles on this bike in 4 months.
Wow, that's quite a bit. This bike, the Cervelo Soloist, fits somewhere in between the S5 and the R5, the Aero and the climbing bike.
Yeah, it's meant to be between those 2 bikes. Although with all the integrated cabling and Aero tube shapes, it definitely rides like an Aero road bike now. Although I know the R5 is also very, more specifically Aero than it ever has been before. But it has a little bit more aggressive geometry, and I just love the handling of it, and I think it can do pretty much anything.
Okay, well, we'll get into the specifics here in a minute, what you like and didn't like about the bike, some of the things maybe you changed since you got it. And this bike is now, or others I should say, are now competing with this bike in the sense of being sort of that Aero racing / climbing bike, the one bike sort of to do it all. The Madone, the new Madone from Trek, the Tarmac, from Specialized, and a few others now. Pinarello for years has had one bike sort of in between the Aero and climbing. So this is where this one slots in. Tell us what you like most about this bike.
Well, I prefer the way it handles. I think my closest thing I have to compare it to it is the Propel, which was a very stiff, fast bike in a straight line, but squirrely through the corners. I think this one gives me a lot more confidence through the corners. It just handles really, really well. I can rail descents on it. I can sprint out of corners on it. I just love the way it handles. And
you also mentioned in the notes you shared with me that it's a comfortable bike.
Yeah, it's you know, the rear tubing shape kind of borrows from that R5, where it's a thinner, more compliant tubing. I've never ridden the S5, so I can't compare exactly with it. But the wheels have something to do with the compliance. They are the Reserve 4044. They come with 25 millimeter internal width and 28 millimeter tires. It just gobbles up any bumps in the road.
And I'll just interject that that's a wheel set that we've reviewed before, and there's a review up on the In the Know Cycling website that I'll link you to here up above.
Yep.
So performance-wise, great handling. You like the comfort and compliance. You like the stiffness, and it sprints pretty well too, as I understand.
Yeah. I just did 6 criteriums in a row in Wisconsin, and it really sprints very well. So I love that aspect of it as well.
So this bike lists the manufacturer's suggested retail price is $6,800. And for that, you get a couple things that I haven't seen the same level on other bikes. Talk about the Groupset and the wheels specifically, which come with this bike.
Yeah, so this bike comes with the new 12-speed Shimano Ultegra Di2. So this is the, comes with a 30 tooth for the max size in the back.
1130, yeah.
1130, 5236 in the front, so you can really go pretty much anywhere with that setup. The wheels are stock, which I think are probably the nicest stock wheels you can get at this price point across any brands.
And these are really all-road wheels. You can ride them on road, but also on gravel and cyclocross, and you intend to do so, right?
Right, exactly. So sometime in October, I'll put these wheels on my cyclocross bike and with cyclocross tires on them because they set up nice and wide, tubeless. That's what I race on for cyclocross is tubeless, not tubular. So very versatile wheel set.
Talk about the aesthetics. This is a pretty bike, but in addition to the color, talk about what you like about the aesthetics of the bike.
Otherwise, the design is very clean and simple. It's an eye-catching bike. Cervelo really thought about everything with the design. They have this nice rubber cap over the seat post bolt, and every sort of line in the frame seems to be really well thought out. Cervelo is really good at making fast bikes. They were the first fast bike made. You know, the Soloist here is a rebrand of their original Soloist, which came out in the early 2000s that kind of changed the game, the first road aero bike. You know, the head tubing at the headset into the fork is a really thoughtful hourglass shape, integrated so perfectly into the fork. I feel like every millimeter of the fork has been thought out in terms of aero gains. So marginal gains, but Cervelo really knows what they're doing when they make a frame set.
You mentioned the bottom bracket is now threaded on this bike.
Yeah, you see that more and more in the last year or two. I think Cannondale was the first bike manufacturer to go back to the threaded bottom bracket, but this is a threaded T47 FSA bottom bracket that came stock. I haven't changed the bottom bracket yet, but it's silent, which is super nice.
Sweet. So there's a lot of things about the Spec for this at this price point, $6,800, including the wheels and the Ultegra Di2 12-speed, which is really premium compared to other bikes that don't have that level. But there are some things about the Spec that weren't quite to your liking or that you decided to upgrade or customize. Take us through those changes that you made, maybe starting with the bars and stem.
The stock handlebars were a Cervelo 42 centimeter aluminum, slightly Aero handlebar set, which had the cables running underneath the bar and into a stem situation where the cables ran on the underside of the stem with a little clip. Cervelo did this so that it's very user-friendly for the home mechanic. But I think that 42 centimeter handlebars are the one piece of this bike that doesn't meet a 2024 modern racing spec. So I upgraded the handlebars with the Enve Road Aero set, which is actually a flared set, 37 centimeters at the hoods, tapering out to 42 centimeters at the lower part of it, and that provides for a great aero setup, but also a wider, more stable platform for descending and sprinting. I also bought the Cervelo, I think it's called the ST31 carbon stem. I got it in 110 millimeters, and this means that the cabling is now fully integrated through the stem.
The tires that came with these wheels, you switched those out?
Yep, it came with the Rubino Next, which are a training tire. They're actually pretty good training tire. but I upgraded to the Conti 5000s and tubeless 28 millimeter, which you'll see a lot.
Saddle, rotor, power meter. Talk about those three.
Yep, the bike came with a Selle Italia wider saddle, which I can't remember the exact model name, but I upgraded or changed it over. I don't know if it's really an upgrade, but I prefer the Fizik Antares saddle, which is an Aero saddle. So all my bikes have this saddle on it, and it's just a familiarity thing.
Yep.
I reduced the size of the rear rotor from 160 to 140. For me at least, in the 155 pound range. Having two rotors at 160 width was too much braking power. So I reduced the size of the rear one to save a little bit of weight. And then I did upgrade I did add a left side crank power meter, a 4i power meter on the left side, which is one of the cheapest, most cost-effective power meters you can get.
And I've been saying for years that most enthusiasts really only need a left side power meter that costs a couple $100.
Yep.
The 4i is one that we've reviewed. It's nice to know that your imbalance is 46, 54, or 48, 52, but it's interesting to hear that someone racing at the highest level like Miles is cool with a single side power meter.
Yeah.
Right.
I've done enough testing with two power meters at the same time. I know exactly what my scale ratio is.
And now the Groupset, the Ultegra Di2, you used to ride the 11 speed. This is a 12 speed. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so obviously one more cog. So it gives you fewer jumps between each cog. The one thing I've noticed since I've been riding it is that the shifting is not as crisp as the 11 speed Shimano. And I think what Shimano has done here is they've made the derailleur cage a little longer, and I think the shifting is not quite as crisp as their older 11 speed Di2. So it gets there. I've never had a missed shift, but it's not quite as crisp as I'd love it to be.
As I mentioned earlier, none of our videos or reviews are sponsored, and while sometimes brands will send us gear to test and we'll send them back, we didn't do that in this case. You went out and bought this bike.
Yes, I did.
How did you come to the conclusion that you should buy this bike?
Well, I've been riding and racing for a very long time, so I know exactly what I want. Cost is one of the factors. I'm not going to go out and spend more than $10,000 on a bike just off the bat. I've owned Cervelos before. I think they are one of the smartest bike companies out there in terms of what they're making and what they're designing. I looked at other bikes, including the Cannondale Super 6, and I also looked at the Specialized Tarmac. And for me, when you compare those three bikes, this one is better for so many reasons. And I took a little bit of extra money to update the cockpit and a few other features. But even then, it comes out cheaper and likely faster and better to ride than the Cannondale Super 6. So for me, I did my research, and this is the bike at that price point, which is the best bike that I think I could buy.
Now, you've just come back from the Tour of America's Dairyland, a crit series.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find some validation in your choice out there?
Absolutely. Actually, I hadn't seen anybody with this bike until I went to Wisconsin. And then in my race, there was an entire team with this bike who I was battling with all week. These guys are all national level masters crit top level riders. I raced in the combined 40 plus and 50 plus masters race there, and I won the 50 plus overall Omnium, which was the most consistent, best, highest finisher over the 6 days of racing there. I got a giant trophy, I got a 5-pound wheel of cheese, I got several leaders jerseys, and some podium time with Norman Alvis, who finished the 1990 Tour de France
Ah, sweet.
from
Sweet.
7-Eleven.
All right, so you raced against others on this and on this bike and others on other bikes, and it turned out pretty well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
I would not have wanted to have any other bike than this one in that crit series.
Well, thanks for telling us about the Cervelo Soloist today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to like and subscribe down below and check out some of the other videos we've done. If you want to support the video and the site and the channel, feel free to shop at the stores linked in the description box below. Miles, thanks very much.
You're welcome.